Okay, let's see if I can pull this off without a hitch. My name is Lisa. I am the Crafty Goddess. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am doing things a little differently this time. I've only done one other shoot like this to do a tutorial. So I thought, hey, I'll try it again, especially considering that this tutorial is a special request. I believe it was in my lens mill haul video. Sorry, don't mind the mess. I'm actually going to be doing stuff with this. The lens mill haul video, I was showing off a shawl that I made. Made out of Lion Brand mandala. Yes, I'm moving this a lot. And somebody by the name of Miguel, who's one of my viewers, asked if I can do a tutorial for this shawl. It is a free pattern. It is called the Garter and Eyelets shawl. The maker of the pattern, her name is Sarah Dobbins. She put it up for free on Ravelry. I found it on Pinterest, and then it took me to the Ravelry site. So you can go to Ravelry or Pinterest, type in Garter and Eyelet shawl. It'll take you there. It's a free pattern, and I mean, just look at this. Sorry, don't mind the mess. Forgive the mess. We've, again, living in southwestern Ontario, we've experienced quite the heat wave lately, and my thinking is a little sketchy. I also caught heat sickness twice in the same week, so yay for me. But yeah, so this pattern is absolutely gorgeous. It is one of the easiest shawl patterns I've ever done. It's for those who maybe want to move beyond, sorry, pardon the shaky cam. I've got this rigged up to a point where if I knock this stand over, game over. The Garter and Eyelet shawl pattern is excellent if you are a beginner knitter, or if you want to push past the beginner level and work on something a little bit more challenging. If you know how to knit, purl, yarn over, knit two together, you're going to love this. You're absolutely going to love this shawl pattern. It's easy. It's wonderful. And I mean, look at the drape. Look at the stitch definition. Again, this one was made in Lion Brand mandala. The colorway is called Mermaid Cove. And then I've also got another one here. This was made out of Lion Brand Shawl and a Ball. This is the yarn I like to use for this specific pattern, just because, like I said, it's got such a nice drape to it. It's gorgeous. It's easy. This colorway was called Restful Rainbow. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think the Restful Rainbow colorway here is extinct now. But if you check out the Yarnspirations website, I believe they got a sale going on right now for different discolored colorways and whatnot for different yarns. If they don't have it there, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. But yeah, I thought I'd show you a couple of different yarns that I use for this pattern. Now, the pattern originally calls for size 4.5 to 5 millimeter knitting needles and fingering weight yarn. Now, it also recommends that you start with 4.5 to 5 millimeter circular needles, but what I like to do, maybe I like to take that extra step, I don't know, but I like to start with straight needles and then work my way up to circulars when the stitches will start to accumulate, and they will. Trust me, you've seen how big these shawls are. You're gonna get a pretty sizable shawl out of this pattern. The circular needle measurements that are suggested are 24 to 32 inch lengths, or 60 centimeters, 60 to 80 centimeters, roughly. My conversion skills, once again, have failed me. But today's demonstration, I'm going to use Shawl and a Ball, what a surprise, and size 4.5 millimeter needles, just to show you the basic stitch definition, get you started. I don't know why I have a needle gauge in the picture. But yeah, so this was a pattern that Sarah Dobbins came up with, because I believe she works at a yarn shop, and she wanted to come up with something that would, once again, push beginners maybe past their comfort zone, do something still fairly simple, but also incredibly pretty. So, without any further ado, now, just another word of, little tidbit of advice. Shawl and a Ball yarn is a size 4 in the thickness scale, pardon me. and it's considered a worsted weight. The Lion Brand mandala in the Mermaid Cove that I showed you earlier, that is considered a DK weight. I would not go thicker than a worsted weight, just because you could run the risk of losing the stitch definition. Not to mention, as I previously stated, with these two different yarns, the drape on the fabric is just gorgeous. The stitch definition is just impeccable. Oh, I think I screwed up on that one. Don't mind me. I think everything I knit has some sort of like hiccup in the pattern, but that's me. So yeah, I wouldn't go past the 4 on the thickness scale. But yeah, you could definitely use a fingering weight yarn and size 4.5mm needles. And I know there may be a bit of concern there, but take my word for it when I say the stitch definition is gorgeous. But as I said, I'm using Shawl in a Ball yarn and size 4.5 needles, even though the requirement is 5, but demonstration purposes, right? Okay, so what you're going to do first and foremost is you're going to cast on 1 stitch. So you're going to do your slip knot first and foremost. Speaking of slip knot, and I know this is going to sound completely odd, I heard a rumor that the band Slipknot, in case anybody's familiar with them, allegedly they got their name from a crochet magazine. I don't know if that's true or not. To me, it evoked images of Corey Taylor or Jim Root having a relative who liked to play with yarn and gifted them with knitted cardigans every Christmas. I don't know. If anybody out there can confirm or deny this fact, am I kidding? If anybody can confirm or deny this rumor, please comment below. I'm kind of curious to see if this is true or not. So, all right, humorous anecdote aside, you cast on 1 stitch. Row 1, you're going to knit front and back of the stitch. This is what I showed on the last tutorial I did, the simple shawl pattern. I mistakenly called it an increase. I mean, it is technically an increase, but what you're doing is you're knitting into the front and back of the same stitch. So now instead of 1 stitch, you have 2. So yay, 2 little bitty stitches. Row 2. Row 2, by the way, is considered the right side. Row 1 and all odd numbered rows, wrong side. Row 2, right, or even numbered, it's the right side. As far as I'm concerned with this pattern, there is no wrong or right side. They both look amazing. But row 2, you're going to knit into the first stitch. And then the second stitch on the needle, you're going to knit front and back. I know my stitches look incredibly sloppy right now, but again, this is tutorial purposes, so... Oh, I really screwed that up, didn't I? Oh dear. Let me do that again. Let me just try that all over. And by the way, for those of you who are watching this that are just beginning to learn how to knit and do all this fun stuff, making mistakes is okay. Making mistakes is part of the process. Mistakes are our greatest teacher. If we did not have mistakes, how would we learn how to do something correctly? Am I right? So, it could also be because these are loose as crazy. So, row 2. Let's try this again. Did I mention the heat affected me quite negatively this week? Okay. Front and back. Ta-da! You've got 3 stitches. Now, row 3. And by the way, if you go to, I think I've already said this, but yeah, if you want to follow along, go to Ravelry or Pinterest, type in Garter and Eyelet Shawl. The written instructions will be there. But everybody likes a visual aid, right? So row 3 in all odd numbered rows, you just knit. That's it. No fancy schmancy increasing, knit front and back, nothing. You're just going to knit like so. Easy peasy. Done. 3 stitches. And again, I know this is very loose, but we're just doing this for demonstration purposes. I've knit tidier shawls before. Row 4, not 5, 4. Row 4 shall be the number that we count. You're going to knit the first stitch. knit into front and back of the second stitch, and then knit the last stitch. So now, instead of 3 stitches, you have 4, like so. Ta-da! Row 5. Another beauty thing about these tutorials is when they're uploaded and they're visual, you can hit pause and rewind as many times as you like. I love that. I have gone through tutorials like that where I've had to pause and rewind I don't know how many times, and it's gotten me through. I'm very grateful for it. Row 5, again, odd numbered row. Don't mind the tail. Everything's sticking. Row 5, you're just going to knit. Just knit these 4 stitches. That's all you're going to do. Row 6, and I can't show that because I need both hands to do this. Row 6, you're going to knit the first stitch. This is where it gets fun, by the way. Row 6, you knit the first stitch. Second stitch, you knit front and back. And then you're going to yarn over and knit the last 2 stitches together, if I can do this, like so. So you have 5 stitches, but I'm going to show you a second when I finish knitting row 7. The pattern is starting to, you won't see it right away, but you will see that it's starting to angle off a little bit. So I'm just going to knit row 7, just going to knit these stitches, nothing fancy, just building up these rows. Row 8. Row 8 is where we're going to have some fun because you're going to knit the first stitch, knit front and back again, and then you're just going to knit to the end. So we're 8 rows in. By the way, this is a 12-row pattern, but the last 4 rows are going to set the basis for the pattern. Like the next 4 rows that I'm going to be counting off, rows 9 through 12, are going to be the rows that you repeat for the rest of the shawl. And as you can see, it's starting to angle a little bit. So it's going to be a triangle shawl, but it's going to spread out like this. So row 9, this is the beginning of the 4-row repeat that you'll be doing for the rest of the shawl. So bear with me. Row 9, if I can get the needle in. Row 9, you're going to just knit across as usual. Row 10, now this might sound similar to what we've already done back in row 6. So row 10, you're going to knit the first stitch, knit front and back. Now the next 4 stitches, what you're going to do is you're going to yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together. That is it. And again, you can see the stitch pattern, the definition is coming through. You can see it start to angle a bit. Row 11, knitting across, again, odd numbered row. Nothing fancy to it. Just knit, knit, knit. Hopefully your knitting is a lot nicer than mine. Of course, I'm also sticking to everything. There's no air conditioning in this room whatsoever, and I'm sweating like crazy. Row 12, the last row in the 4-row repeat. Knit your first stitch, knit into the front and back of your second stitch, like so. and then you just knit across the rest of the row. Where did we do this before? We did this in row 8. So the last 4 rows, again, you're going to be doing those for the rest of the shawl. If you want, you know what? I think we'll do this again just to get, so everybody can get the hang of it. Once you set up the first 8 rows of the of the pattern, it sets up the foundation for the rest of the shawl. And as you can see, I've already got a triangle happening here. Your loops are probably going to look a lot prettier than mine. They're going to be a lot tighter. But again, for demonstration purposes, I just wanted to show you what this is going to look like. So let's do those last 4 rows again, and then you can see what's happening. So row 9, and after a while, you're just going to stop referring to them as row 9, row 10, whatever. It'll probably clue in, and you'll just go at it with no effort. I've done this pattern while watching television, for crying out loud. Row 9. Remember, all odd numbered rows, you just knit straight. That's it. Nothing to it. You get a break from doing fancy loops and yarn forward and whatnot. Row 10, knit the first stitch, knit front and back to the second stitch, and then we're gonna yarn over, knit 2 together for the rest of the row. That's all you're doing. Yarn over, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2. You're going to do that across the entire row. Row 11. You know what to do by now, I think. If not, pause, rewind, go grab a snack if you need to. Grab something refreshing to drink. I might do that after this video so I can replenish my fluids. You're going to knit straight across row 11, row 12. Get some more yarn out of here. Row 12. Knit the first stitch. Knit front and back of the second stitch. And then knit the rest of the row as is. Why am I putting my fingers where they are? So my stitches don't slide off, and so I don't slide off. And that's all there is to it. You can see the pattern is starting to happen. You can see the triangle is starting to happen. And when you get to near the end of your shawl, it might take a while once you get the hang of it. But when you get to the last bit of your yarn, I would recommend ending on a row 4, like where you knit the first stitch, knit front and back the second stitch, and then knit the rest of the way across. That is the last row. I would recommend knitting in its entirety, and then after that you can cast off. It'll have a really nice cast off edge to it. Let's see if I can find this. Yeah, it's got a nice strong cast off edge to it. Another tip I like throwing in these little tips and whatnot here and there. Another tip I would recommend, if you're using, say, 5mm needles to knit this pattern, go with a 6 to cast off. I always take, if I'm casting off any project, I will grab a needle that is one size larger than what I was using for the pattern to cast off. Then that way it's not tight and constricted and you doesn't have any give. So it's got a nicer, looser edge to it. It's prettier. That's just what I like to do. If you have any tips or tricks on how you like to cast off patterns, again, leave them down below. I'm all about sharing tips and tricks and things to help us help make us better knitters and make really gorgeous items such as this. Anyway, I think that's it for now. If anybody has any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I always love getting feedback. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it very much. While you're down there, please feel free to subscribe. Hit that little bell. It'll let you know when I decide to upload next. Hopefully I won't wait another month to put anything up. Sort of like what I did the last time. But and maybe I'll put up a few more tutorials, maybe some more hauls, and see where we go from there. All right, sound good? Yes? No? Anyway, I'm babbling. The heat is getting to me. I need to go replenish my fluids. Thank you again so much for being here. I greatly appreciate the time we spend together. And yeah, let's do this again sometime. Anyway, take care. Be safe. I'll talk to you soon.